When we take money from individuals we label as criminals, we often overlook the intricate web of motives and circumstances that drive their actions. Crime, in many cases, is not born out of inherent malice, but as a response to systemic failures, personal trauma, or sheer desperation. These acts, which society often views as unlawful, can be symptoms of deeper issues demanding attention and empathy. Understanding the roots of criminal behavior, crime rarely exists in isolation. It is often the product of circumstances that compel individuals to take drastic actions. Poverty, abuse, and generational hardship can push people into cycles of survival tactics that are criminalized. For instance, a parent who steals formula because they cannot afford necessities is not committing a crime out of choice, but out of desperation to provide for their child. Similarly, individuals may engage in illegal activities due to the influence of hostile environments, fear, or coercion. These actions are often less about personal gain and more about survival, revealing the need to address the systemic and personal conditions driving such behaviors. The role of fear and coercion. Fear and coercion can play significant roles in perpetuating criminal behavior. Gaslighting, intimidation, and threats of violence are tools often wielded by others to manipulate vulnerable individuals into illegal actions. Criminal informants, incentivized by financial gain or leniency, can further exacerbate the cycle, creating new layers of crime and desperation. When we fail to consider these dynamics, we risk perpetuating harm and deepening systemic inequalities. It becomes evident that crime, in many cases, is more complex than a simple moral failing or a desire to break the law. Economic struggles and desperation. Economic hardship is a significant driver of crime. When individuals cannot afford basic necessities, they may feel forced to engage in illegal activities to survive. The locking away of essential items like diapers and formula in stores only heightens the barriers for those already struggling. A father who robs a store for diapers after his bank account is emptied by a partner dealing with addiction is not just a criminal, he is a symptom of a larger societal failure. Criminalizing these acts without addressing their root causes perpetuates a cycle of poverty and desperation. The financial burden of the justice system on the poor, impoverished individuals face disproportionate challenges in the justice system due to the cost of fines, fees, and legal representation. Even minor infractions can result in financial penalties that are devastating for those living paycheck to paycheck or below the poverty line. Court fees, probation costs, and mandatory programs can accumulate, trapping individuals in a cycle of debt and legal entanglement. For example, a parking ticket for someone with financial means is a nuisance, but for a low-income individual, it may mean choosing between paying the fine or buying groceries. Failure to pay can lead to additional penalties, license suspensions, or even jail time consequences that further hinder their ability to break free from poverty. Additionally, the inability to afford competent legal representation often results in harsher sentences for impoverished individuals compared to those with access to private attorneys. Public defenders, while dedicated, are often overburdened, leading to less personalized defense strategies. This disparity highlights how the justice system disproportionately affects those without financial means. The unseen consequences of criminalizing survival. Taking money from individuals labeled as criminals has far-reaching consequences. It strips them of resources, pushes them further into desperation, and increases the likelihood of more severe crimes. This creates a vicious cycle where poverty and criminalization feed into each other, making it nearly impossible for individuals to escape. The financial burden of fines and legal fees compounds these challenges. For impoverished individuals, even minor encounters with the justice system can escalate into lifelong struggles with debt and incarceration. This not only harms the individuals involved, but also their families and communities. Systemic issues in society's role. The criminalization of poverty underscores broader systemic issues that demand attention. Poverty, addiction, and lack of access to basic necessities are not individual failings but societal ones. When we focus solely on punishment, we ignore the systemic inequalities that drive individuals toward crime. To address these issues, society must invest in programs that provide support rather than punishment. Access to affordable housing, healthcare, education, and addiction treatment can help reduce the desperation that leads to crime. By addressing these root causes, we can create a more equitable justice system that uplifts individuals rather than trapping them in cycles of poverty and criminalization. Breaking the cycle, empathy, and systemic change to truly address crime, we must shift our focus from punishment to understanding and support. Empathy, rather than judgment, can pave the way for solutions that address the root causes of criminal behavior. Restorative justice initiatives, which emphasize repairing harm rather than punishing offenders, offer a more humane approach to justice. Investing in preventative measures, such as early childhood education and job training programs, can also reduce the likelihood of crime. By providing individuals with the tools and resources they need to succeed, we can create a society where crime is less a matter of survival and more a choice that few feel compelled to make. The path forward, as we consider the ripple effects of taking money from those labeled as criminals, we must ask ourselves, are we addressing the problem or merely perpetuating it? By focusing on empathy, systemic change, and support for impoverished individuals, we can break the cycle of poverty and criminalization. This requires a collective effort to challenge systemic inequalities and invest in solutions that uplift rather than punish.